So what do you do when you find a troll on the repeater? I have some ideas. Yeah, I have some ideas. I want to know what you guys think about this. I found a story on Reddit I want to share with you, so let's go. This video is sponsored by PCBWay.com. Bring all of your ideas to life at their website with professional grade printing. I find stories like this and I'm like, I know what I would do, and I would do it all on camera. And I wonder what sort of response I would get if I were to actually find a person doing this in my area. And I wonder if I'd get sued. I don't know. I've had to deal with a little bit of that in the past and kind of don't want to do it again, but I still think I would do this. Okay, here's the Reddit article. Rant. I just got my license. I don't even have a radio, but this kind of irked me. Now, this article is 7 years old at the time of this recording. I was digging around in Reddit trying to find some cool stories. I found a bunch of cool stories. This is one of the ones I found, and I think it's still applicable today because this still happens, unfortunately, okay? But here's what it says. I recently took my test and got my tech and general license the same day. I've always had a passing fascination with amateur radio and decided to take up the hobby with my dad. Now, one of the main reasons I wanted to get into the hobby is I've been hitting walls of toxicity on the internet and just wanted to have some friendly conversation or even short conversations that consisted of no more than a call sign and a signal report. Okay, welcome to Parks on the Air. With some random people. It sounded like fun. Most of what I have heard is that the amateur radio community is a welcoming group and willing to help. Side note there. I'm impressed that you've heard that. And it's very true. It's very true. Because overall, most hams are welcoming. Yeah, there are some curmudgeons, and most of those people hang out on places like Reddit or QRZ or Facebook, and they just troll the crap out of you, okay? Most of the time, you're not going to find those idiots on the air. Most of the time, okay? The problem is that, and I said this in another Reddit post that I commented on earlier today, the problem is that we as humans, we would much rather watch a house burn down than a house being built. And what I mean by that is we're drawn to chaos. We're drawn to chaos. We're drawn to stories of ill intent. We're drawn to stories about trolls. We'd much rather read stories about trolls and about people acting badly than we would about positive influences and positive aspects. Maybe that's what we should change about ourselves. The local clubs where I live, the subreddit, all have proved that to be true. Okay, good. I'm glad you found a good local club. I'm still working on the club list of good clubs. I've fallen way behind on that, but that still is a project I'm working on. However, I've recently learned that there is a rogue operator in my area. I don't have a radio yet, but the local clubs talk about this guy like he's Voldemort. Truth be told, I've not ever seen any of the Harry Potter movies. I know who Voldemort is, but I don't really understand that reference completely. But okay, let's move on. He apparently goes by Blue Waffle, a term that is really disconcerting to hear people that are 70 plus say that back and forth. They don't even know the meaning of the word. If you don't Google it. Stay a virgin. Okay, so I had to Google it. Okay. In a nutshell, and I didn't read very deep into it. In a nutshell, it is a completely fake, false, made-up, sexually transmitted disease. I read that. I'm like, okay, I don't need to know anymore. I don't need to know what it's supposed to do to you or how you're supposed to get it or anything like that. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's what it is. It's a completely false, made-up STD. Moving on. Anyway, it would seem that this guy spouts racial garbage, actually swats people, wow, and tries to cause as much mayhem as he possibly can. He is always on the radio and has taken over the local ham traffic to the point where people just don't get on the radios here. I was told by the people traveling through the area that pretty much they don't communicate within a 40-mile radius of where I live. I just wanted to get on the radio to escape the trolls, and of course my town has an amateur radio troll, which is just astounding to me. They have reported him over 20 times and haven't been able to get him to stop operating. I have some thoughts on that. I don't have any more details because I don't actually know what he is doing specifically outside the aforementioned actions. I just know that he is disruptive to the point that everyone speaks in hushed tones. The little information I have is gleaned over the course of 4-hour club meetings and whispers. I just want a place where people are nice. Is that dead? No, it's not. No, it's not dead. So this was 7 years ago. I hope you found a place you could enjoy amateur radio since then. If you see this video, please email me, kc5hwb@gmail.com. You could build, this is the best comment here, you could build a whole hobby around finding this troll. Yes. Operator by day, fox hunter by night. He'll need a cape, spandex pants, and a directional antenna. That's good. True, but what do you do when you find the troll? The OP states that the person has been reported 20 times. I assume to the FCC. If the FCC won't do anything, then what are the alternatives? I'm asking because I hear about this kind of thing a lot these days, and that other trolls have been reported, yet nothing ever seems to happen to them. Has he threatened anyone? This guy's replying. If so, get a group of people together to file a restraining and protective order against him, usually free and quick procedure in front of a judge. Almost always, they forbid contact with him, including electronic means. Then they call the cops every time he gets on the air. He can contest a restraining order, but that would mean showing up to court and having to explain to a judge why he's being a jackwagon on the air. I doubt he would do that, and he'd be really unhappy if the cops turned up every time he got on the air. Next, I would flood the FCC with complaints, make up a form. Next, your elected representatives. Finally, I would consider getting at least 20 people together. This is probably, okay, this is probably what I would want to do here. Okay, I would consider getting at least 20 people together, going by the guy's house and telling him that you're going to kick his ass. Now, don't actually kick his ass. I'm against violence. Okay. But telling him that he is about to get his ass kicked, it isn't actually violence. He has a way of changing attitudes. Do not leave until the cops show up. If there hasn't been any violence or damage, the cops won't arrest any of you. They'll just ask you to leave. Leave and do whatever the cops want. Then the cops ask the guy why he has 20 angry people show up at his house. They won't arrest him or anything, but they will tell him not to be such a jackass. That can make a difference. Or call the local news company. Do you have a local small-town paper that never talks about anything exciting except the next pie baking contest in town? Call them. Call the newspaper. Or maybe you contact a YouTuber that you might watch and has somewhat of a little bit of a salty attitude about people like this, because let's face it, people like this just should not be tolerated, okay? Now, I'm not calling for violence either. I agree with what this guy said. Don't actually kick his ass. I'm not calling for violence. I'm against violence, okay? But, you know, we can put him on the air, and we can put him online, and we can put him on YouTube, and say, I'll take the YouTube video down as soon as you stop doing this. We could do that. I don't know. Let me tell you about today's sponsor of the video, which is PCBWay.com. If you want to bring any of your project ideas to life, head over to PCBWay.com. They do professional-grade 3D printing, CNC machine printing, circuit board printing of various types of circuit boards, and just all kinds of things for your electronics projects. Head over to PCBWay.com and tell them that Ham Radio 2.0 sent you. My first thought was, now, I don't want to tell you to do this, okay? But strange enough, I'm scrolling down through the comments here, and who do I see but Sterling in 0SCC? And again, this was 7 years ago. And he says, boy, wouldn't it be a shame if something were to happen to his feed line? Because that was my first thought. That was actually, when I read this article the first time, I'm like, do you know where the guy is? Probably. If he's on the air that much and you haven't fox hunted him yet, that's a miss. That's a miss. You should know where this guy is. You should know where he is, which means you can call the newspapers, which means you can get a group of people to go over there. You can file a restraining order against him. You can do all these things. Again, not promoting violence or anything. But what a shame if something were to happen to his feed line. Moving on. Yeah, the OP states that the person has been reported 20 times. I assume the FCC won't do anything. Then what are the alternatives? Depends on what reporting was done. A bunch of hurt feeling reports aren't going to do anything or get anything accomplished. Actually, recordings, documented DFing result, direction finding results, etc., have a chance to be acted on. That's what I would do. Now, I'm joking a little bit when I would say, you know, what I would do is, as on a YouTube channel, I would absolutely record what he's doing, put it up on a YouTube channel, and send that to the FCC or the ARRL, your ARRL representative. Get him involved, okay? If this guy is such a menace, okay, I'm going to assume that every part of this story was true, okay? I'm going to assume that every part of this story was true. It would seem that the guy, well, first of all, the first thing he says right here is it says right here, he is always on the radio and has taken over local traffic to the point where people just don't get on the air anymore. It would seem that this guy spouts racial garbage, actually swats people. Swatting people is illegal. Swatting people is illegal. If he is actually swatting people, in other words, okay, if you don't know what swatting is, in a nutshell what swatting is, and I know a ham radio guy that this happened to one time. Someone calls the police and makes up some story, some radical story, to the point of getting SWAT called to this other person's address. So let's just say, for instance, this guy knows where the local ham radio club meetings are. Okay, they're 6 p.m. on Monday nights. Let's just make something up, okay? The local ham radio clubs are 6 p.m. on Monday nights. So this guy calls 911 at 6:15 on a Monday night and says he hears gunshots, people screaming, maybe a small explosion, and I hear this kind of thing, and he just makes up this total, completely lie of a story and gets the police called in a forceful manner, maybe with a SWAT team, depending on how big of a town you're living in, over to this place where there's absolutely nothing going on at all. That's what swatting is, basically. And that's illegal. If he's done that, okay, he's committed, I'm pretty sure it's a felony. It's either a misdemeanor or a felony. It should be a felony if it's not. It probably depends on the state. It's probably state-driven, okay? Some states it may be a worse crime than others. But if he's actually swatted people, that's illegal, and he can completely be arrested for that. So yeah, so that's what I do. You know, if he's spouting racial crap, tries to cause as much mayhem as he possibly can, he's on the radio all the time, it should be easy enough to direction find him, and it should be easy enough to get some recordings and put them on a YouTube channel of someone you like watching on YouTube. Who would that be? Who could you email that footage to? And who is just, you know, kind of sly enough and kind of like, you know, I don't want to deal with this crap enough. Who do you think would do that? I'm just going to pick someone off the top of my head and say, oh, you could probably send that to me, and I'd make a video about that. Yeah. Honestly, idiots like this give everyone a bad name. Okay? There's ways to stop him. The court of public opinion is a very powerful thing. Now, I'm not saying we should make up stuff. I think we should always tell the truth. Okay? Always tell the truth. Don't make up stories about him. Assuming, again, I said a minute ago, assuming this story is true, assuming this guy is actually spouting racial slurs and swatting people and doing all kinds of stuff. This was 7 years ago. Hopefully he's not doing this anymore. Hopefully this is an old story that's far gone, and this guy got taken care of, and he's not on the air anymore, and it moved on. There's people using ham radio repeaters in this area. He didn't really say where his area is. So hopefully this is not a thing anymore. But stuff like this does happen in various parts of the country. And if you wanted to send me some footage of it, it's possible. I'm going to have to review it first. But it's possible we can make a video about that and call that guy out and publicly shame him and just say, this is your voice, bro. You can't deny it. Okay. Put a comment below if you've ever heard of anything like this. If you're the person who wrote this story or you know about this story because you're from the same area, I want to hear from you in the comment section below. Thanks for watching today, and YouTube thinks you want to watch this video next. So click on this video so that you can keep watching. 73.